Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, I would have wished to be with you in London for this launch, but I am unfortunately prevented from attending by other commitments here in Addis Ababa. On behalf of His Excellency Moussa Faki Mahamat, Chairperson of the African Union Commission, and indeed on my own behalf, I would like to express my thanks to the OECD and all the partners who worked tirelessly with my team in the African Union Commission to ensure the success of this event. I would also like to thank you for your interest on the Africa's Development Dynamics report. Now, allow me to go to the heart of the subject. In view of the current development dynamics in Africa, the African Union Commission, in collaboration with the OECD, has taken the initiative to conceive and develop a report on the issue. Indeed, the report aims to fuel debate between members of the Union, citizens, business people, and researchers. It also undertakes to bring an African contribution to fair and sustainable models of development and to play a part in the development of new kind of international cooperation, more focused on mutual learning and the co-construction of a public policy necessary for the preservation of Africa's resources. It's also important to mention that the Africa's Development Dynamics is the first report of its kind by the African Union Commission at the initiative of its Department of Economic Affairs. The year's theme, growth, jobs, and inequalities, is central to Agenda 2063. The goal of prosperous African population requires a strong, sustainable, and inclusive growth that creates decent jobs and reinforces social cohesion by curbing inequality. Although Africa has the second highest rate of GDP growth in the world, it should have reached 3.7% in 2018. This remains below the goal fixed by African leaders of 7% annual growth over a long period. In addition, while extreme poverty has declined, it still affects 25% of Africans. Lastly, the multiple inequalities of access to economic and social opportunities, particularly for women and young, are such that they hinder the effectiveness of public policy and social cohesion. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, the dynamic of growth, employment, and inequalities vary across Africa's regions. East Africa has benefited from higher and more resilient economic growth than the other regions, thanks to a more diversified economy. While underemployment and vulnerable employment characterize the majority of African labor markets, some northern and southern African countries also face high structural unemployment. In Central Africa, net job creation has been negative in the formal sector since 2015. Poverty has fallen in East and West Africa. Extreme poverty rates fell by 23 and 12 percent points respectively between 1990 and 2030. Southern Africa is the most unequal region, hosting 6 of the world's top 10 unequal countries in terms of income. Regional and global markets offer several avenues for new and stronger growth patterns. Deepening regional integration and regional value chains can provide sizable opportunities for diversifying exports. Regional demand for goods is rising, and the technology to produce them is increasingly accessible. Demand for food products alone is expected to triple by 2030. Governments can help African firms catch up with global productivity by building stronger industrial linkage and developing local capacity. Innovative policies can help channel financial inflows to unlock private investment. To achieve the aspiration of Agenda 2063, new development strategies are necessary for at least 5 reasons. 1. Growth remains volatile. Despite accumulating much capital and acquiring new trade partners, some governments may no longer be able to sustain current levels of public investment. 2. Recent growth has not translated into higher well-being. In Africa, GDP per capita is less correlated with well-being indicators than is the world average. 3. Quality jobs remain scarce. If current trend persists, the share of vulnerable employment in Africa will remain at 66% until 2022, far from the Agenda 23 target of 41% by 2023. 4. Reducing inequalities is essential for lowering poverty, where Africa's Gini coefficient equal to that of developing Asia. 5. Structural transformation might be hard to sustain without improving productivity growth. African firms lag behind the global productivity frontier in many labor-absorbing sectors. Firms need to boost their productivity to sustain long-term growth. 5 mega trends are shaping Africa's integration into the global economy. Each brings opportunities and risks and has important policy implications. First, global wealth is shifting, with emerging countries producing more than half of a global output. New partnerships with Africa are increasing. Second, the new production revolution offers additional markets and different production methods, but also creates obstacles for African producers. Third, the continent's population boom could create a dynamic dividend if local economies can supply enough jobs and basic services to meet the growing demand. Urbanization is changing economic structures and posing new challenges. 5. Many African countries need a green growth strategy to adapt to climate change. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, my opening remarks are coming to an end. I am sure that our partners, Mr. Mario Pezzini and his team, will come forward with key actions and policies that should guide development strategies and accompany our member states for the sustainable economic development of our continent. I wish you fruitful discussions, and I am confident that the conclusions of your deliberations will add value to the next edition of Africa's Development Dynamics, which is currently being produced. I thank you.